as that in Comic-Con and then say that's your costume. Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about history as it unfolds, and we are here to talk about and comment on the political zoo that we're living in. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
And we're bringing you really three big stories. The first one's going to be about our thoughts on the LGBTQ agenda, particularly with the shooting in Nashville. We're also going to be talking about the proposed ban of TikTok, as well as just some other things that President Xi and China are up to. And then also pretty big news, Tim Scott's announced of an exploratory committee for 2024, and also we'll just give our thoughts about 2024 just in general. And so I think the good way to begin with this, even before we go to the shooting, in even more recent news, Bud Light has figured out who they want representing and who they want on the beer bottle, who they want in their commercials. I don't know. So I've heard the name Dylan Mulvaney. I don't know if Dylan still goes by Dylan. I legitimately don't even know.
No, he does.
So he does, but he says, I'm not a guy.
And we're already wrong because we're addressing him as a he, but, you know.
Well, we're not. Well, we're right. They're right.
Well, yeah. But, yeah, politically incorrect, I guess. I don't know.
Wow. Cry me a river.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. But, yeah, no, he does go by Dylan still.
Okay, so is he a they, them?
No, I think he is a she, her.
But he goes by Dylan. Okay, all right. I'm not going to question it.
No, he's an idiot. But
that's what he identifies as.
Pretty much.
So he should identify as.
Yeah, should. And Budweiser even more so. But
yeah, they are giving money to an idiot.
Yeah, no. First off, you ever had Bud Light?
But at least it wasn't a porn star.
No, I think I'd rather it.
Dude,
in all honesty, hold on. I'd rather you put that, like, some, P-star's face on it. I'm not saying, put that on there, but I'm saying, like, the face of, a popular one or whatever. No. I'd rather you put that because, like, think about it. No, listen, other than a transgender.
No, neither.
No, I agree.
Leave the bottle blank.
I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing. But versus the whole trans thing, I don't know. Anyway.
At least I guess you're saying at least the woman knows what she is.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. And like
that's a very low bar.
Beer leads to, or at least getting drunk and everything leads to bad stuff anyway. I don't know.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, low bar. Yeah.
What were you starting to say though? You're starting to say.
You ever had
one time, and I will never have it again.
Yeah. What? Prior to this, or I mean,
because
of this,
it was my
it was
my 21st birthday.
Oh, I got you.
And I will never have it again
because it tasted like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's disgusting beer.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's nasty.
I don't like it at all. Someone, I forget who I was listening to, talked about it being basically carbonated water. And with like cat urine mixed in to give it flavor. It's just like really not good. I mean, to me, it wasn't even. It didn't taste like urine of any kind. It was just tasteless, and it was like, there's no taste. There's like no flavor. It just doesn't taste good. I want to feel something when I drink it. I want to taste something when I drink anything. Soda, water, anything. Water is the only thing that doesn't really have a taste. But yeah, it just doesn't taste good. And then this ad comes out. And I was like, okay, like you see this is my big thing. You see commercials for this stuff all the time, like Super Bowl commercials, all kinds of stuff like that. Then this comes out, and it's like, who are they trying to go for? Who are they appealing to?
And see, a lot of people want to say that hey, Bud Light doesn't know its consumer and everything. I think that's exactly the opposite. I think that they do know who their consumer is, and I think that they just want to basically pull a Disney and kind of push this stuff in your face, like it or not, because a lot of people are just going to buy the product. Now again, the stocks are showing that, hey, this is kind of going down the hill, and also these the people that actually have to put out the product and everything, they're taking a hit from these boycotts and everything. Which
if it happens, I assume some people are not going to buy it again, but I haven't heard a lot of that.
No, there's been a lot of pushback against this one.
Good.
A lot of people have pushed back against this, and again, like I said, it's also putting a hit on the people that contract out with Anheuser-Busch products. Like, there was a video, I'll have to find it so you can put it in the description, of this guy that is licensed out to Anheuser-Busch And he was talking about, hey, yeah, thanks Anheuser-Busch for doing this stuff because it's actually affecting me because when he can't sell stuff, you know, it's no issue to, you know, Anheuser-Busch and everything. But it's an issue to him.
Right.
So these boycotts, they're not necessarily right now affecting Anheuser-Busch, but however, they are affecting these distributors and everything. Right. So once it starts affecting these bottle distributors and everything, it's going to start affecting Anheuser-Busch,
well,
you know, because it's like, hey, we're not distributing you because you're not giving us money. You're not putting food on our table because of the fact, you know, that's the thing. That's what it's about. It's not about, oh, I love Bud Light. No, it's about you guys were putting food on my plate, you know. So it's like yeah. So it's either you know, go find another beer to distribute, or you know,
which I guess
y'all stop.
I guess you can do. I mean, there's Heineken, there's Budweiser,
there's plenty of beers out there.
Yeah, there's more. Mike's Hard Lemonade. I mean, there's plenty.
Yeah.
That haven't done this yet. I am afraid though that, like, I will say, back to it. Out of any company, you could have like torn off a bunch of pieces of paper, written down random beer companies, thrown it into a hat, mixed it up, and handed it to me. I would never have guessed that the one that would have actually done it would be Bud Light. Like the commercials I see, and it's funny.
But then again, did you see Hershey coming?
No, not necessarily. But I mean, I would believe that over Bud Light. Bud Light, when I hear people that talk about Bud Light, it's almost always a Southern boy that loves it, and he's like super rednecky. Yeah. Or one guy I was listening to made this point: a frat boy at a college, basically, like, oh yeah, man, we're gonna go out, we're gonna get, you know, effed up, that kind of thing. Yeah. Not that many other people drink this stuff.
No, I mean, I agree.
So to pull this, it's like, I mean, do they think the frat boys are going to be like, yay? Maybe. I mean, colleges are getting more and more woke. I get that. But the guys that are super rednecky or blue collar anyway, they're not getting them, which is probably why we are seeing any of the backlash we're seeing.
Yeah.
Although whether the main thing is they're talking now, whether their stock takes a hit and takes a sustained hit is the issue.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Because if they go down for a week or two, that's one thing. If they go down for another year or two, they'll say, you know what, we've lost a lot of money. And the question is, will they care or will they not care? Yeah. Will they care more about looking cool with the trans community, or will they care more about, we got to make money, we got to have our dollar? And that's the question. I don't know. That's a business call. Which do you want more? Do you want to go for these people's dollars or these people's dollars? And these people have more dollars to give, but you've just ticked them off with this.
Well, I mean, ask Disney.
There's that, but I mean, I haven't really seen a whole lot of them taking things back either.
I mean, yeah, they haven't taken things back, but they've lost stuff.
They have, but I mean, again,
that's the thing. These companies, they lose stuff, they still want to push this agenda.
It's going to take a course correction. They've got to have a course correction where, like, you know, we got to tone this down some. So, yeah, when it comes to the trans stuff, too, this is not... on the one hand, it's like, well, why do you guys care if you don't drink Bud Light? I care because I care about stuff that doesn't necessarily affect me, and it affects the country in general. Like, even if this was a makeup product, I don't use makeup, neither do you. I don't think. And
you don't know what to do in my free time.
Hey man, I've seen pictures of you wearing Joker makeup. So
interesting. Okay.
Just Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
Or TikTok filters.
Fair.
Even though you're not on TikTok, neither am I.
Yeah.
So I guess when it comes, like, even you know, something like makeup ad, if it was like, oh, we're gonna have and I'm sure this has happened, a dude wearing makeup and saying, oh, I'm a female, would I care about that at some point? Yeah, because like, this is just further a show of our society degrading and going down the drain, and more reprobation happening across our society, which is just evil, and that includes alcohol that I don't drink either, and so it's not necessarily shocking that it happened. It is a little surprising that it was Bud Light. And I am pleasantly surprised that there are some people coming out against it. The question is, do you follow through? But now, unless you got more to add to that, we got to talk about the Nashville shooting, because it's been so long since we've done a Zoo Nation. I had to take a week out outside of our normal schedule. We haven't talked about the Nashville shooting. So I guess we'll call the person by the pronouns that she was born with.
Oh, you don't.
We're not going to name the shooter unless you feel a need to. Like, the whole way that the media ran with this was really weird, because the narrative was, this is actually a lot of people, it depended on the media site, but a lot of them, a decent amount of them, were calling her a woman.
Yeah.
A lot of them, even some that are not the woke kinds.
Originally,
and then,
yeah. Originally.
But then they had to come out and correct themselves because I guess what happened was the only thing I can think of is the people in the school figured out, oh, that's whatever the person's former name was. And they reported that to the school, to the media, I should say. And the media said, oh, this is this person's name. They didn't realize, oh, this person has gone through what they've gone through, what she had gone through. She's now saying she's a he. And so then they didn't have to, but they felt like they had to correct themselves.
They even flip-flopped on that stuff, too, because they went from, oh, this is like a trans man, and they were like, wait, which one is that?
Yes.
Is the trans man a man to a female?
Yes.
A female?
Yes.
Yeah, so even
you and I
found that out,
flounder on that, too.
Well,
you and I, because sometimes...
I don't even understand how you could understand this stuff. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I don't claim to even understand this stuff, so of course I flip-flop.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what to say. Like, what you're kind of saying, is the transgender woman a biological man?
Yeah.
Or is that a woman that says she's transgender and that's where she's a man?
And so even the media had problems.
Yeah.
Had problems flip-flopping back and forth.
Well,
wait, now we actually have the facts.
And okay. This is a non sequitur, but there was actually a headline saying, I forget the event, that transgender commentator Matt Walsh went to an event. Transgender commentator. And it's like, that could easily be taken like Matt Walsh is transgender.
I'm sure.
But they're not saying that. It'd be like, if Bud Wallace is a football commentator. He's not a football player.
Yeah.
He's a football, the game, commentator. Well, he's a transgender commentator.
Yeah.
Well, it was easily misinterpreted, and the conservatives all knew, okay, that's just unfortunately phrased.
Yeah.
But anyway, cause this just shows the flubs that media do. They say things, and then they realize, probably shouldn't have phrased it that way. But yeah.
Well, it also shows you words matter.
This is true.
Yeah. Legitimately.
And
that's a game that we're playing.
And who controls language, kind of to your point.
Oh, yeah.
But see, and to that point, the people on Twitter, the blue checks, as we call it, although some of that's gotten better because of Elon,
this is true.
Will you pay for it? Will you not?
Yeah.
Will you pay, what you pay for in a coffee per month for a blue check? And a lot of them are like, I refuse on principle for some reason.
Yeah.
I live in a capitalist country. I pay like probably 10 or 100 times this for my phone, but yet once a month for Twitter is just not going to cut it.
Right.
So anyway, they were all actually, a lot of people on Twitter were actually the ones that said, y'all are misgendering the shooter. This was a man, when really it was not. It was a woman that identified as a man that went to the school. But see, and actually I heard a really interesting take on this. This commentator I was listening to said he suspected, this commentator, that the reason the media did what they did was they were afraid of saying a man, because if they had said that, it would have come out this was a trans person, and it would have been pretty much on the nose right away, a trans person shooting up a Christian school.
Yeah.
And then it would have looked like really, really bad right away. If you just hear the news story, a trans person has shot up a Christian school, that just sounds really bad. Yeah. If you obfuscate and say, well, a woman has shot up a school, you're kind of cushioning yourself a little bit. But then there's a really funny little parable that I told in a podcast episode of mine recently, and it's not a long one, but basically there's a story of a man, his son, and a donkey, and it's an Aesop's fable, where they're walking together from town to town, and they go to one town, and the people in the town say, "You've got a donkey. Why is your son walking? Put him on your donkey." So he does, and so then they walk to another town, and at that town, the people say, "Why is this lazy boy just walking? He's riding on the donkey. You, the hard-working father, are walking. What's he doing?" So then he switches. He pulls the son off and gets the donkey to please the people. And they keep going. They come to another town where they basically say the opposite. "Oh, this poor son can barely keep up. Why are you, the lazy father, riding?" So to please them, he pulls the son onto the donkey, and they both ride the donkey. And they come to the next town, and they start taking it for the donkey and saying, "You should be carrying the donkey." So they carry the donkey. And then, I forget the plot twist, but basically they end up dropping the donkey on his head and he dies. So the donkey dies. Point being, if you try to please everybody, you please no one.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And you end up hurting the people you actually are supposed to be looking out for. I mean, the donkey is under humans' care. They end up killing the donkey. So there's the old, basically that's the old, I don't know, a lot of these fables came from the Middle East. The old adage in the English-speaking world is, you can please all of the people some of the time, or some of the people some of the time, but you can never please all the people all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. The media made a call, and they ended up making the wrong call because they thought not by obfuscating it was going to protect the trans community. The trans community ended up getting mad and saying you're transgendering it.
Well, that's person. Like when you're covering these things as well. You know, now the media can't really do this, but you know, if you do podcasts and stuff like that, always wait a few days for all the facts to come out, because originally the media is telling you a story, not the story. And so, you know, and Dan Bongino, he does that. And, you know, he waits, 2 or 3 days before he actually covers something because, you know, I mean, things can get misconstrued and everything. And it's like, you know, again, the media, to an extent, has to give you a story, not the story. But in this case, they had to continue feeding you a story because this thing doesn't look good for liberals and it doesn't look good for the LGBT.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, this looks awful.
It does on multiple levels. One person that I know is still waiting. Like, the word may come out soon that this one was on testosterone.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I mean, to me, it's like 90% chance.
Yeah.
But if it does, any common sense parent has got to say, "Come on, this is a problem." This person was on testosterone. She goes to a school, and she's at the school. What are we putting in our kid's body? Even the people that are like open to this have got to say, "Okay, maybe you're a man and you're born in the wrong body, but I'm not putting you on testosterone." Now I don't know. Maybe at that point it's too late. They've already bought into the myth. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't change anyone's mind. But there's got to be two people out there, one person out there that thinks, you know, this person went and shot up a school on this stuff. You know, high on this stuff. What in the world are we doing? So yeah, sorry to cut you off, but that was just a point I was thinking of. I mean, and truly, anything could happen with this. Like, the funny thing was, they started to go the typical direction of AR-15s, pistols, guns, it's terrible. Then when it came out, oh, you're a misgendering person, this is a trans person, it became all about, well, this person did what they did because they were misgendered. This person did what they did because of being bullied. This person did what they did because people in America don't know how to treat trans people. It became all about justifying it, and to the point where David Pakman got in a lot of hot water for basically saying, oh, the people in the school was a Christian school, they just should have prayed harder. And got a lot of backlash, even from people with blue checks and lefters. Like, bro, I agree with you on like the solution, on like not misgendering people, but that is way too far. And when you've got that happening, it's kind of like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of hope I have left for some people. Some people that are not completely, they don't have their eyes completely closed, you know. 90%, they have their eyes barely open. But yeah, and so what does this show us? It's really indicative of how the media leads us by the ear. They can go from gun control to trans rights that fast, and then it becomes down to, I want to say it was like March the 29th or maybe the 30th is now supposed to be a Transgender Visibility Day. And Biden spoke about it, basically saying, and this is like the day or the day of or the day after the shooting, and it's like, that is such a slap in the face to everyone that lost a child that day. And yet, the media treats it as just no big deal. I mean, just imagine after 9/11, the next day, like Islamophobia Awareness Day. I mean, just imagine what that would have felt like to people.
Yeah. The things that this shows to me, especially from the White House and just liberals in general.
And by the White House, we're not talking about those teeth. We're talking about...
Yeah, pretty much. But KJP, she came out with a statement and was... She addressed, you know, that people died, and she even got that wrong on how many people had died and everything. But then starts talking about the attack on trans people. Where are you getting these statistics? They want to point out that, oh, well, trans people commit suicide at a higher rate. Yeah, they do.
Yes.
What they don't point out is the statistics do not point to they commit suicide due to bullying. The statistics come to point out that they end up committing suicide due to the fact that they're still not satisfied when they transition to something that they weren't in the first place, because they're not happy with themselves. It's not because, oh, society won't accept me. It's, oh, I still can't accept myself.
Right.
It's a body, it's body dysmorphia almost to an extent. You know, I'm not happy with my body, but, you know, sitting here changing and mutilating yourself is not the answer, and that is one of the reasons. You know, again, now does bullying play a small factor to some of the cases of suicide? Sure, maybe.
Well, that's so what you got to do there is look at how much does bullying factor into all suicide.
Exactly.
And look, I get the argument of, well, we can try to zero in on trans people and see, see, this is the issue.
But that's not fair to everybody else who gets bullied.
Yes, there needs to be talk about that too. But the thing that the left tries to do is say all of trans suicide is environmental.
Yeah, exactly.
They're around people that aren't accepting.
And the studies don't back that up either. You know, the studies and the statistics and everything just do not back these up. Also, something that has been proven to me through this is the liberals don't care if you die, as long as they don't care if people die. They only care if their frontline soldiers die, and they want to push a narrative. They care about their narrative
or get
more.
arrested.
Yeah, exactly.
AOC.
Yeah, right.
We'll never forget how traumatizing that was for her to put her hands behind her back and then do this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, right. Yeah, because...
Same with Greta Thunberg.
You know, magic over here. But
yeah, Houdini.
yeah, Houdini. Yeah. But no, it's, you know, it's like, oh yeah, we care. It's amazing that these people that care so much about people, right? They're for abortion. They're over here saying, hey, trans people are being attacked, but forget those other people that just died by the trans person. You know,
because they're white Christians, they don't really matter.
Right, exactly. You know, so forget about those people because they were radicals. You know, they were quote unquote radicals according to their status. Anybody who doesn't agree with us is a radical in the first place. So I mean,
MAGA Republican is what Biden likes to smear on it.
Yeah,
you know,
or even just a normal thinking person.
Well, that's the thing.
Like
he'll smear you as that, and same with, like, even, I don't like her, but Tulsi Gabbard, the minute she started questioning the line,
exactly,
it was like, you're a Russian sympathizer, you're Putin's puppet. You don't really, I think the big thing was she went and met with the leader of Syria, whose name eluded me for the second, Assad.
Yeah.
You went and saw him, therefore you must like Assad. You're a pro-Putin, pro-Assad, and she's also in the military, so that's a triple negative, like really bad.
Yeah.
And she's straight, even though she's not white, she's straight. I mean, they started looking at what they didn't like about her, and all it was like basically her taking Kamala Harris to an extent to task, and also being anti-war, and not towing the line all the way with the media and stuff like that, to the point where now she's kind of had somewhat of a political transformation. I don't necessarily buy it completely. I wouldn't trust her. I wouldn't vote her for president.
Kind of like Russell Brand. You know.
Yeah, that's a very similar situation.
Yeah,
to me, all it shows is these people have gone so far off the cliff that anyone that's still standing doesn't look as crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
What's funny about that is I was listening to Newt Gingrich on an interview talking about Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, for those of you that are younger than us or watching this in the future. He was Speaker of the House in the 90s when Reagan had left office and Clinton had come in. He was talking about how there's two wings of the Democrat Party. He put it very well. There's a weird wing and there's an insane wing. The weird wing is somewhat connected to reality. They have a very strange take on what the solution is, stuff like that. Then there's the insane wing that's completely disconnected from reality. Yeah. And he's got like an article or a lecture on it, and I want to read it, watch it. So yeah, that's what we got here. The insane wing is you need to forget about gender, forget that it exists, and just say, yes, my son who wants to wear a pink dress, you're a girl. Rather than say, well, you can play pretend for a day, but you need to, take that off, kind of thing. So yeah, that's the idea. And what will this change? The thing is, the good thing I will say about this shooting is a lot of people saw it for what it was. This is a ploy to make transgender stuff happen, which is a very unfortunate thing that happened. Thankfully, the cops responded faster. It wasn't another Uvalde, which was a really disgraceful situation. So they came in. They actually did what they needed to do. There's actually footage of a cop going a little bit overboard and like shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. But at the same time,
I think that's because
adrenaline. You know,
I've watched that video, and I think that's because the body was moving. So I believe because in the video, the officer that shot a couple extra times, he did say, stop moving, don't reach, and so I believe that. Again, this is what I believe. I don't know 100%, but I believe that he thought that the person was still reaching for their gun in the process, and was not, again, that's still a threat. So, overkill or not, this person took 6 lives. In my opinion, it's not overkill for one. No, I don't have a problem with it. That this person went out and killed children and killed people. You're a piece of human filth for doing stuff like that, in my opinion. Sure, so I have no.
Just don't disagree at all.
I have no issue.
No,
Wait, on that part. No, but as far as the trans thing goes, I've got an issue with. Oh, Lego's doing it now too.
You did send me something about that, but I don't know if the post ended up getting removed. Oh, no, wait. No, you did send it to me. I did flip through that. It was a book that basically had used ABCs. Legos. Yes, used Legos to do ABCs. C was for coming out, just as an example. C was for coming out. It was a lot. That's
2 words, by the way, not 1.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's a really, do we really expect them to know how to count?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, true. Male, female, and they say there's more than 2 genders. So, that's...
Dude, as somebody who really likes Legos, that sucks, man.
Yeah, me too.
Seriously, I mean...
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, I hope the next Lego movie, they don't pull some of this stuff. They might. I mean... Yeah, I mean... Every time a movie comes out, in the back of my head, I'm like, I hope they don't ruin it. Because of what comes out of Hollywood in this day and time.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But and it's like, oh, well, what does it affect you if you don't drink Budweiser... Bud Light, my bad. Same thing though, right?
I don't drink that either.
Yeah, I don't drink either one. Anyway, what does it affect you if you don't drink Bud Light and all this other stuff? And what does it matter? Because we're pushing unrealistic stuff. That's the problem. This isn't stuff that's grained in reality. I am a defender of truth. I am not a defender of, hey, do what you want. No, I'm sorry. That doesn't work anymore. It's not, hey, do what you want. Just don't touch kids. No, I'm sorry. You still got to have some ground in truth. Again, to an extent, what you do, is your business. Yeah, just don't touch. That plays a rule to an extent, but it only goes so far.
Yeah,
when limits. You start putting, for example, if you want to say, hey, if you said, hey, I'm a female, that's cool. You can be the coolest female you want to be by yourself, Don't involve me in it. Don't go put your face on a can that I could possibly buy. Don't go influence children. Don't go do any of that stuff. Keep it to yourself. Now, again, if you're going to date somebody, then you might want to inform them of that, of course. So, I mean, there are, exceptions to keeping it to yourself, but this stuff stays to yourself for the most part. Or if somebody tells you, hey, I don't want to know, or I don't necessarily agree with that, you respect that equally. So it's like, okay, fine, you don't agree with that, fine, I won't push it on you. That's the problem with this. You can do what you want within your own space, but you cannot force your stuff onto other people. And so when you start putting this into Lego, when you start putting this into Bud Light, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it's a problem.
Even, and again, I didn't even think about this in the prep. Did you see, I may have sent it to you, I don't know if I sent it to you or not, the cartoon Bison? There's a cartoon Bison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that non-binary or something like yeah.
Fred, but I go by
That's
they,
Netflix,
them.
Right?
I think it was. It was Netflix. It was Netflix. I forget the name
of
the
I go by Fred because this is how I feel.
Well, I go by Fred, but my pronouns are they, them because he, him doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the grandmother, I said this in my podcast. I'll go to that in a second. The grandmother basically is a grandmother says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Fred, for calling you by the wrong pronouns. I'll call you by the right pronouns," and then the scene kind of ends.
Yeah.
Apparently, the show did get canceled but I may have been going to anyway. I don't really know how much of that was connected to this. But next thing, somewhere in Scotland, in a quiet little dell, there's a big hole, and it's William Wallace rolling over in his grave. Because this man was a hardcore Christian who fought for freedom, for Christian values, and then his own people in Scotland it's a Scottish, like literally people in Scottish accents are talking about this as a Scottish show are doing this. And I mean, look, it's a joke about Scotland, but to be honest, like, no matter what country makes this, I don't care, whatever, evil and sinful and reprobate, and unfortunately, it's creating an environment for more kids to come out as trans, and it becomes a big cycle of you become trans because your environment says that that's a cool thing to do. Yeah, indoctrination. And so that's what they're ultimately trying to do. The next thing, though, to kind of close the circle with trans rights before we go to, or trans wrongs, before we go to the next topic, is the thing with Riley Gaines. So basically, Riley Gaines, an outspoken critic of transgender athletes, says that she was attacked during an event at SFSU, by the way. So basically, she was there. There was a riot, a protest, mostly peaceful. She was a former NCAA swimmer, Riley Gaines. She was assaulted Thursday on the campus of San Francisco State University, if you didn't know the acronym. She was at the school to speak about her views opposing the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. So, yeah, she's a swimmer, and she was saying, look, as a swimmer, it's not cool for a man to come in here and disrobe and put on a swimsuit. It's not cool for me to be competing with a guy that's going to do laps around me because physically he can do it and I can't. Yeah. She says, I was physically assaulted by one person. I was struck twice, both times hitting my shoulder with a second strike grazing my face. So it hit her shoulder, but then the fist hit her in the face. So she wasn't getting hit directly in the face, but she was still getting beaten. Like, I don't care if you're not getting hit in the face.
She still got assaulted.
Yeah, I mean, it's still assault. It's like, just because I hit you on the arm or the gut doesn't mean, like, well, officer, I didn't hit him in the face, so you should let me off. That's not how that works. The rest of the protesters just ambushed and cornered me before I was able to move out with the help of campus police. So basically, she was cornered and like couldn't leave until police kind of came to her aid and escorted her out, which that was the wrong thing to do. And here's the thing: listening to one guy talk about this. Okay, Gaines, apparently this is the connection, tied with transgender swimmer Leah Thomas for 5th place in the women's 200 meter freestyle. So she actually did very well. She tied. She didn't lose. She actually tied.
She tied a man.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. I mean, that shows she really went above and beyond, and
that shows she actually worked.
Yeah, she actually worked for it. She wasn't just like, I'll do the easy thing and switch genders. So basically,
well, actually for her,
what needs to happen now, what did not happen, what needs to happen is at this school, the protesters, if there's students at that school, need to be expelled and arrested. Frankly.
Yeah.
Expelled and arrested, especially the ones that assaulted her, but also the people like if we're gonna treat this the way that January 6th was treated, people that were peaceful would get arrested too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm not calling for that, but I'm saying the ones that were causing a ruckus, the ones that were blocking people, crimes, the ones that were committing crimes and attacking and assaulting her, absolutely need to be arrested, and expelled and arrested. Now, will that happen? No. The school might have some statement. Oh, we're very sorry that something happened yesterday, if they even do that. Yeah. But they're probably going to be completely silent on it because they are afraid of someone, even that, getting plays and the trans people getting mad. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what happens. That's what should happen. They need to be arrested, expulsions. It's not going to happen, though. I am not surprised, but it is, frankly, disturbing and disgusting that this happened to her for just saying the basic truth of, I shouldn't be swimming against a man. And I have a problem with that, as well as a problem with them coming into my locker room. Yep. That's not an issue. Yep. That's a very basic common sense take that where even someone like, though I don't like him, Caitlyn Jenner would say, well, that's reasonable. I mean, I think it's reasonable to have a third locker room, was what would be what Caitlyn Jenner would say. I wouldn't. I would say, you need to go, whatever you were born as, go there. Yeah. You know, that you should have the corresponding partner.
Although, my whole thing with that is like, I'd be uncomfortable with a dude that now looks like a woman if they were born a woman, like as a dude, right? Let's say a guy that was born
a guy
comes into
walked
the bathroom.
in and he's wearing a dress or whatever.
Yeah, I'd still be uncomfortable myself, you know.
Yeah, like, but I would rather bite that bullet than have.
100%. I'm not disagreeing with that, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm more on the can we have 3 bathrooms now type thing. I guess like if that's what it comes down to. Like I'd rather just get rid of all this in general.
Go to the woods.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying for everybody to be comfortable. Hey, here's your own stuff, which that's not going to make the trans people comfortable, whatever. But
because they're going to say that's dehumanizing, that's otherizing. That's what they would say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's otherizing. So there's no winning. The non-binary people would say that's otherizing in some form. No, I'm sorry. That's not correct. This is actually what they would say. They would say all of them would say it's otherizing.
Yeah.
The non-binary would say I get to go where I decide.
Yeah.
The ones that choose one, frankly, although they're incorrect in choosing one, would say also I get to choose, but I'm going to look like this, therefore let me walk into this.
Yeah.
Which leads to the whole thing. Well, what are you identifying as? That's the whole. What is a woman? Well, what is a woman? What are they identifying as? So anyway, that's what happens at this school, San Francisco University. Really, really bad situation. It's sad, and the thing that needs to happen is probably not going to happen. She probably should pursue legal action against the school. Why didn't you keep me safe? Why didn't security do more? Why did the police have to be called? The police department had to be called rather than campus security doing something. And then it comes down to campus security shouldn't have to deal with this kind of threats because the student body, frankly, should be not tolerating this. And the student body shouldn't be empowering the school to say, you know what? If students get out of control, crack down. Don't let this happen. Call the cops. Call security. Whatever it is. It's not going to happen because, frankly, people don't have the guts. They're too afraid to speak up, and that's the bad thing. So
speaking of that, Leah Thomas, by the way, I'm pretty sure he won Woman of the Year, or was a nominee, which makes me question where are the feminists, because all this does is prove that men are yet again better at another thing, which is being better women than you, apparently. No, I'm kidding. That's totally a joke. But no, seriously, where are the feminists on this crap? Like, equal. Okay, cool. I'm cool with that. Y'all are equal. That's cool. Equal pay, equal this. Hey, we can do everything you can do. Okay, cool. That's great. But that was the whole point of the women's sports, because hey, we can do everything you can do. That was the whole that was the whole movement of women's sports and everything of hey, we can have our own things and we can make it cool, even though the WNBA isn't cool in my opinion. But hey,
hashtag free Britney.
Yeah, pretty much. But now women's soccer before it went woke was kind of cool. But other than that, like again, and women's tennis was cool too. But anyway, like that was the whole thing of like, hey, we're equal. We can have our own things and everything like that. We can work just like you. And it's like, hey, that I'm cool with that. But when did feminism become, hey, we include the guys in it too? What? Like, make it make sense if you still classify yourself as a feminist. I mean, seriously. Like, to an extent, I could get back behind the feminist movement way back to an extent.
No, I would say completely. The old feminist movement. Yeah. You want to vote? Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
You want to be able to legally have your own credit card? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to drive? Okay.
You want to have your own sports? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, there's really you want to work? Okay.
Yeah.
Now the whole gender pay gap.
Help me out.
The whole gender. Yeah. Right. The whole gender pay gap thing gets hairy because it's actually a myth. That's a myth.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you factor in the kind of work, the number of hours that an average man works, the number of average woman works, and stuff like that. Now, of course, there are definitely exceptions. You and I both date highly functioning women that work a lot of hours, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And have parents that are that way too. So that's the thing. You got exceptions, but when you look at other fields and other situations,
for example, women do not statistically go into bricklaying.
Yeah.
Because it's more they don't go into the physical labor fields as much.
And here's the thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's not only okay, that's a good thing.
And when women do go into those fields, they still get paid the same amount as the guy.
Right, which is why the pay gap isn't frankly higher.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they help bring the average up,
exactly.
But then it just depends on what exact study you're looking at
exactly.
regarding the field. I mean, I forget the country, but there was one that did like social justice wise, everything they could to where a woman could occupy any job that a man could, and there were still like 12-to-1 male engineers to female, 12-to-1 female nurses to male nurses, because at some point women just like this and men just like this.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. We should, and this is the issue with the transgender stuff. We thought we were going to get away from this, but we're not. Is they want to erode that? They want to blur those lines.
Yep.
We don't need that. We need to have clear-cut lines of men and women. And there are different roles in the family. There's different roles in society.
Yeah.
But should women be allowed to legally do more or less the stuff that men can do? Yeah. Now, has it gone too far? Like, for example, women's rights and its abortion? No, not on the same page there at all. But see...
But that's not... I mean, sure, that's a feminist movement, but that's not...
But see...
That's a total different thing, in my opinion.
But see, again, the pro-life movement is really led by women.
Oh, yeah.
Women that have had abortions and regret it, or women just in general that are happy mothers, right? They at least, if they're not the leaders, they give the most gas to that movement.
Oh, yeah,
they are very strong in
100%.
that movement.
Some of the strongest voices out there for it. Yeah,
and get the most attention because they're women saying this stuff, too. So... and as well as mothers that oppose critical race theory, mothers that oppose this transgender rights stuff.
Yeah.
They're some of the biggest voices. So there's that. So to move on to the next topic, Tim Scott has announced a launch for an exploratory committee for a 24 White House bid. This is from newsmax.com. All these sources are going to be in the comment section and a link in the description as well. Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina on Wednesday took a step toward a bid for president. So this is a step to answer the question I was asking in the prep. Releasing a video announcing the formation of an exploratory committee. In an email to supporters Tuesday, Scott teased that he would be making a major announcement during an appearance on Fox News on Wednesday morning. I've been doing a lot of thinking the past few months, Scott wrote. I've been thinking about my faith, I've been thinking about the future of our country, and I've been thinking about the left's plan to ruin America. Well, left's plan to ruin America is kind of redundant. Yeah. For months, Scott has been developing the infrastructure to accompany a bid for the White House, building out his political action committee and visiting early voting states. So that's what the exploratory committee basically does. They have a political action committee that they make, and then they visit some states, and then they kind of feel it out, is what I'm getting. This week, Scott returns to New Hampshire and Iowa for roundtable discussions and meet and greets with the voters before heading back to South Carolina for breakfast, policy discussions, and political update with donors. So, yeah, this week is going to be a big one. If he does enter the field, Scott will join another South Carolinian, former Governor Nikki Haley, as well as former President Donald Trump, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, and anti-woke biotech entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy.
That guy's interesting.
He is very interesting. I don't know what
he won't do anything,
quite
but
make of him.
Like just on the debate field, on the debate stage. Yeah, he'll be interesting.
I'm just saying, if not 24, which I doubt anything's going to happen in 24.
I don't think he'll ever get elected.
Future, future, we'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see. It'll be. I don't know enough about him, quite honestly. We'll just have to see.
I've listened to him just like on a couple of talk shows.
Okay.
Like Steve Deace and Glenn Beck have interviewed him and stuff. He's got some good ideas. However, he's kind of just echoing some stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, what are you actually bringing to the table? But I mean, he's an interesting guy. He's got the money.
Yeah, news. That's true. Newsmax.com notes: if elected, Scott, the only black Republican senator, would be the nation's first black Republican president. Scott has signaled how he might distinguish himself from the others in the race by leaning into a more hopeful message than the grievance-based politics advocated by others. During a February visit to Iowa, which holds the first GOP presidential caucuses.
And the most important.
Yeah. Scott spoke of a new American sunrise rooted in collaboration. I see a future where common sense has rebuilt common ground, where we've created real unity, not by compromising away our conservatism, but by winning converts to our conservatism, he said. So, you and I were talking about this in the prep. Go ahead and air out some of your thoughts you have, just generally speaking.
My thing is like with Tim Scott, where's the call for Tim Scott? I mean, like, who out there is saying like, oh, we really need Tim Scott? Like, I don't get the point. Like, he's not gonna get it. He won't even be like we've talked about Trump, DeSantis, and the third other person in there.
So what's the chance that this is this third guy?
No.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Why?
No,
Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Nikki Haley's got a better shot than that.
Okay. Why?
Just because she's more, in my opinion, she's more popular within South Carolina within itself.
Okay.
She also could get some of those never Trumpers and just a little questioning voters of like, like newer voters, stuff like that.
You don't think Tim Scott gets any never Trumpers?
No, I just don't think he's gonna get a lot of votes. I really don't. I think he'll get more than Jeb.
The big thing, honestly, is he's going to get very little of the black vote because a lot of blacks vote Democrat.
Well, yeah,
very few vote Republican.
Well, actually, that's kind of shifting. I mean, yeah, still more blacks vote Democrat, but that is starting to shift.
And does he pick up black voters in South Carolina? I really am doubtful.
Not in South Carolina.
I really am doubtful. Maybe, again, certain counties, some, but enough, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, doubtful. Trump, though, in a poll by Newsmax, it looks like, tops Haley and Scott in South Carolina. It's funny in the prep. You kind of predicted this in the prep.
Yeah.
Former President Donald Trump has drawn more support from South Carolina GOP votes in his bid for the 2024 presidential nomination than the state's former governor Nikki Haley or Senator Tim Scott. Okay, I said it was a Newsmax poll. It's actually a Winthrop University poll. It went on to say Trump was the top candidate for 41% of survey respondents, followed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at 20%. Excuse me. DeSantis has not yet announced his candidacy, but is widely expected to after the Florida legislature session concludes in May. Haley, the Palmetto State's former executive, placed third with 18%. Scott, although he was undeclared as a candidate, he's only has an exploratory committee, was 7%. So basically, Trump 41%.
Stay out.
DeSantis 20%. Haley 18%. Scott 7%. And to be honest, Scott could say at the end of this, guys, I thought about it. It's not my time. And he might bow out. I actually don't think so. I think he'll try. The question is, how long will he last? I mean, he may be at 1% for a long time, and finally he'll drop out, or he may try to do what Kasich did and just ride as long as he can and just waste money. Who knows? That'll be a very interesting thing.
I just don't see the point.
I don't either.
I don't see the point right now. Unless you're bringing a bombshell to the table, which he's not gonna. Why? What is the point? Because the only way I see it is you are just taking away from the alpha dogs at this point, which would be DeSantis and Trump. And unless you legitimately have something to bring to the table, there's no point, And I don't think that he has anything major to bring to the table except for, hey, liberals suck. Okay, we already know that. Like, hey,
what
the
else
LGBT,
is new?
Yeah, the LGBT is going way too far. We already know that. I don't know. I don't dislike the guy. I don't dislike him. It's just I don't think this is a smart move. So yeah, I'm against it personally. Just again. I just don't think it's the right time, I guess, for him, nor do I think he's ever... I believe everybody that's ever been in Congress thinks that they're always going to have a presidential run, and so he's kind of going for it. Like, everybody in Congress believes that at some point they will be the president, so it's like... some of them never will have a chance. Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, I hope not.
He will never be a president.
I really, it's funny you say that. I've never had that thought, but you're right.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are in government that are like, oh, one day I'm going to be the president.
Yeah. No, you're not.
And
just because mommy and daddy told you probably could doesn't mean it.
I don't know, man. Biden's president right now.
Yeah, this is true.
Anything could be.
I mean, you got a point.
Caligula
dreams really can come true. Well, that's a nightmare.
That's a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Caligula made his horse a commander. I'd probably take a nice Tennessee Walker over who we have in office right now.
Yeah, I mean,
at least it wouldn't order anything to happen. At least it wouldn't sign any executive orders.
Yeah, I mean, you got to.
You bring it some carrots, and then it would just go to bed, and Okay, so to go on to 2024.
Dan Crenshaw's announcing, not.
Oh, I hope not. No, that'd be terrible. I really genuinely hope that he does not.
The dude is just so cringy as is.
Yeah. So, what do you think specifically of? So you brought up an interesting thing. Another thing about the Trump indictment was Trump allegedly has been fingerprinted. He did go up to D.C. and speak to the DA and the prosecution, everything up there. But there was some drama that played out, and you had a pretty solid take on this of basically, you go ahead with the whole thing with Trump and DeSantis and everything.
So before the indictment, like when it was just rumors of the indictment, et cetera, there was a reporter that asked DeSantis, hey, what are your thoughts? And DeSantis came out with this pretty watered down, and even I said, hey, you probably should have said something, a little better than that. And he took a jab at Trump as well, and the MAGA Trump Republicans didn't like it, and even myself, I was like, this is wasn't a good move, and people wanted him to defend Trump more. Okay, that's totally fine. I agreed with it too. Hey, you should defend even if this is your potential political opponent, you still should defend truth and what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Well, and not only that, he's a Florida resident.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't the time for egos here and everything like that. So it was wrong, in my opinion, on his side. But then the indictment actually happens. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and DeSantis is like, hey, here in Florida, you're protected. Like, Florida, at least, like, nobody in Florida is going to do anything to you. They'll have to come from Washington to come get you. Which, would they do? Maybe. We can debate that all day. But Florida basically wasn't going to do anything. Trump then doesn't take him up on that offer, or, doesn't say anything about it. Just says, hey, on the way, to what's his plane called? Like Trump One or something. I forget.
Probably.
I forget.
The art of the deal.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
I forget what his plane's called, but anyway, yeah, we're boarding the jet, and even Don Jr.'s on his social medias. Yeah, we're boarding the jet now, watching the news now. It's like, okay, first off, we do understand that this guy was an actor, right? Like, this guy was on The Apprentice, or was The Apprentice. Oh, well, not The Apprentice, but you get my point. And acted in a few shows or movies and everything. No, this guy, I'm starting to question, is it a game now? Why didn't you take DeSantis up on his offer? Because also, that could have sparked a wave of other, like, DeSantis was basically saying, hey, take a free shot at my face. Go do rallies in Florida because they're not going to come get you. Or at least calling, Washington's bluff saying, or New York's bluff saying, hey, come get him.
It was interesting. You say that, but whenever in the prep, you also made the point, a really good one, of Trump supporters.
Yeah.
The Trump supporters were saying things like, and you said you felt this way to an extent. Well, why, DeSantis, why didn't you... The first time.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do more to defend Trump? And your point was, then when DeSantis took a step and said, okay, well, they're going to have to come get you. Number one, the MAGA people didn't say, good job.
Yeah.
And number two, Trump didn't say, you know what, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing was, that would be words, but actions-wise, Trump then basically was like, nah, I'm not going to take that. I'm going to just go and go up to... and surrender myself, basically, or go through the...
I'm going to go and sell T-shirts.
The legal system. Well, and then you kind of went into how much of this was a publicity stunt, how much of this was a photo op, how much of this was...
Well, I mean, just look how much he raised in 24 hours.
Yeah, he did.
It was like, what, $4 million?
Yeah, that sounds right.
About $4 million in 24 hours. And
which is kind of unrelated to this specific situation.
I mean, it was because of the indictment.
Right, but it's not related to DeSantis is what I'm saying.
No, it's not related to DeSantis, but what I'm saying is... him not taking DeSantis on that offer is what I'm saying is the reason that he gained $4 million. So it's all a stunt, in my opinion.
Well, it's stunt did. I don't really necessarily think that
100%.
him...
Because
I think he would have made
$4
million.
They're going to sell these T-shirts.
I think he would have made $4 million without...
Oh, he can definitely make $4 million without doing this,
Yeah.
but I think it's a way to gain money quicker and more money. It's all about more money, too.
Okay.
Because, yeah, sure, I can get $4 million... anywhere else,
So,
but how do I get $4 million and some?
I'll tell you what the MAGA people were saying, because I follow a lot of the MAGA people on Twitter. and someone True Social as well, they were saying, well, this is a completely useless thing that DeSantis is saying because it confines Trump to Florida. You brought up a really good point in the prep, which was the lead that the Republican governors have been following of DeSantis. Like
DeSantis is that guy that Republican governors, even McMaster and everything, right. You know, I like/dislike McMaster, but, you know, he's followed, you know, DeSantis in some things and everything, and has spoken up occasionally here and there about some things. So I think the really red states would also say the same thing. Hey, dude, you know, come do rallies in our state because you're safe too, you know. So that's it. Also, one, it allows Trump to do rallies. It allows Trump to still stay in the media eye and everything, no matter what he like. This would have done so much. It also would have united Republicans within themselves too. Of like, fine, we'll get behind Trump. You know, okay, fine, you're taking a shot at. I mean, it would hurt DeSantis in the long run. You know, because now all these other Republicans are getting on this board.
I don't know.
Well, if he's doing rallies,
he would be seen as a Trump ally in that way, and I think it would have made DeSantis look good no matter what. Because even the people that were pro DeSantis would say, you know what, you did the right thing, Ron. Good job. People that are pro DeSantis would say that. Like
Trump never would have.
Right, but that's the thing, and you know, Trump became president, and he ran the campaign the way that he ran it. I do wish there was less pettiness, but at the same time, he's only human. The main thing that one of my biggest bones to pick with him, and we talked about this in the prep, is I'm not seeing a whole lot of learning lessons.
Exactly.
Like, you went along with Mitch McConnell, you went along with Kevin McCarthy. Now, though, in 2022, or actually early 2023, you don't seem to have learned your lesson. You're endorsing McCarthy for speaker. So you're not really learning a lesson there. Now, in other ways he is. He's talking about Schedule F. He's talking about a plan to take on big tech. He's talking about plans to use federal law to protect the youth from transgender surgeries. Yep. So I'm seeing good things, but on the other hand, it's like, this is what I said to you in the prep. When it comes to, DeSantis says this, but then you still get on your plane and go. I said to you, I do wonder who's in his ear, who's advising him. And then it's like, well, okay. Does his advisor circle probably need to change? Yeah. Yeah. But at some point, he's got to man up and say, you know what? You're a bad advisor. You're a good advisor. I'm going to fire you. And he's got to do that.
And the way I see it is, well, they probably still would have came down from Washington or New York and came and got him. Okay. In my opinion.
I do think they probably would have eventually.
Okay. But that puts Trump in no matter what happens, right? Which, even with this, I disagree. The reason I'm mad about the way Trump did this is because now it's making it seem like, okay, you're still going to play by people's rules, and you're making it a game where you don't actually care about your supporters and everything else. So that's the problem I have.
In what sense does he not care about his supporters?
I mean, look at January 6th. You know,
good example.
Yeah.
That was another thing we covered in the prep, but continue.
So, I mean, look at January 6th. He didn't put a dime towards any of them, you know, help at all.
Hey, at least Kamala Harris helped raise money for the BLM rioters.
Exactly.
I mean, if we're going to call apples to apples, she did something.
Exactly.
Where was Mr.
We seriously need that board of, like, times we... Yeah. Right.
We will. We'll get one. Guys, we'll get one.
Yeah.
One for...
Harris.
How about, one for AOC for times you agree with her, and I'll have one for when I agree with Cenk or something like that. Cenk user.
Yeah. But no, I mean... I seriously question, and again, like I said...
You also need to have a Biden mask, and whenever you forget something, you hold a Biden one, and I'm going to have a Fetterman mask, because I'm 6'8", you know? Fetterwoman. The first transgender senator.
Yeah. That'd be funny. I don't... If they would have come to get him, right, which... Again, they probably would have been within.
I'm not disagreeing with you by that, by the way. I think no matter what, it would have blown up in the media.
Yeah.
And he really couldn't.
And Trump wins no matter what.
Well, he wouldn't have really lost either way. But that said, he's not really losing now with doing what he did. The only thing is, it would have been.
You have to be in court in what, December?
Well, he probably would have had to anyway. But I guess it would have pushed that back. You're right.
But then the next court date is like December something.
Oh, this year.
Ironically, you know, near election stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you started playing the game, and now they're gonna try and screw you as long as possible.
Well,
It's election interference, but you put yourself in it instead of force them to come get you.
You gotta look at them. They are responsible for their
Yeah,
actions.
you've got to. Well, see, look. Here's the thing, though. They're not as responsible for their actions because he willfully put himself in their hands, right?
Okay.
Versus when they come and you got to keep them the bad guy because they are the bad guy. You know, when you willfully put yourself in your hands, it's like, for example, a guy that pleads guilty, right? Again, he's not pleading guilty. He's not guilty. Well, I mean, again, it's of the felony. No, he's not guilty of that. But again, but anyway, the guy that pleads guilty to get a lesser charge, really? Like, it doesn't, that's not a good idea. That, you know, I don't know. Like, it would have kept these guys the bad guy to have gone and got him versus him like, you know what, yeah, I'll turn myself over and I'll play your game. Again, it's just another play in the game thing, and I don't know. Like,
it's you know, and you say that, and you and I both have a big bone to pick with him regarding the jab.
Oh yeah.
And look, DeSantis, while DeSantis said it was a good thing, Trump went all out for it. That's one thing. And here's the thing: DeSantis also said, "I'm going to take legislative actions where you can't be fired for not taking it, and you can't be
forced to take it."
Yeah, forced to take it. Right.
Yeah.
You can't be fired for not taking it. You can't be forced to take it in Florida. Also, you can't be forced to wear a mask in Florida. I mean, and he also, I said this in the prep too, DeSantis also reopened Florida when Trump said it's too early. Yeah. Well, DeSantis ended up being right on that one. DeSantis made the right call. Yeah. So I mean, on COVID issue, DeSantis wins. There's other things, and to be honest, neither one of them, no Republican to my knowledge that has announced that they're running, is saying prosecute the jab, take on the CDC. Now,
which I would love to see. Well, actually, that'd be a time for Rand Paul. But
hopefully, we can only hope. Now, again, that would be the candidate that would be really good.
That'd be your
one that would say, "I'm appointing him as a prosecutor to take this on."
Yeah.
A good team would be Cruz and him, because Cruz would be the legal guy, and Rand would be the medical guy. And also he's a pretty good legislator too, so they'd be a really good team.
100%.
So anyway, this is the situation with this story with 2024. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. You predicted that that Trump will get South Carolina versus Haley versus Tim Scott. I think you're right on that one. And this poll from Winthrop seems to indicate that, right? At least right now. Now, the only thing is it possible? Is there a scenario where Trump gets this much and DeSantis gets this much, and then a third one takes some, and there's a weird thing that goes on? I would give that like 1 chance in 10 of happening. Trump takes it 90% of the time, I think. But anyway, to come to our last story about just a quick update with Russia and Ukraine. If you were to hear, Nathan, of a Russian commander who committed suicide, what would your guess be about the method? If you just had a guess. Okay.
A gun?
What kind of gun? Rifle, pistol, machine gun.
Yeah, pistol.
Okay. What if you heard that this Russian commander put a hunting rifle on his counter and then pulled the trigger?
Interesting.
So
that's talent.
So Ukraine,
I hate to say that.
Ukraine is winking and nodding, and Russia is saying, "Oh, he killed himself," and Ukraine is like, the unofficial story that some Ukrainians are saying is, "Yeah, we had something to do with that." This Russian commander. So think of 2014 when Obama said to Putin, "Don't invade Crimea, don't invade Crimea," and then Putin invaded Crimea.
Yeah.
So he did.
Don't do it. Don't cross this line.
By the way, same with Assad in Syria. Don't use gas weapons. Don't use gas weapons. Well, then Assad uses gas weapons. What happens? Nothing.
Yeah.
So think of Crimea. You've got Crimea.
Yep.
This happens, and so Putin invades, and apparently in some of the evacuation, this Russian commander ordered Russian soldiers to kill a bunch of Ukrainians. So yeah, it's 8 years or 9 years late, but it seems to be that the circle has kind of come complete where they're like, we found you and we took care of you. Not saying that is what happened, but that's how it appears to be.
Yeah.
Based on what is being said. So that's one update. The other thing is, any generally speaking thoughts that you have about Xi meeting with Putin?
It's bad. No. I mean,
Wow. Just kidding.
yeah. Right. No, it's horrible. These guys have had issues in not these guys. These countries have had issues in the past historically.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Also said by a communist.
Yeah, exactly. Which ironically, China's communist. So hey.
My thought exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So we can put our our differences aside. I don't know what I just said, but yeah.
Well, it was better than anything Biden's ever said.
Yeah, exactly. But we can put our differences aside for right now because we have a common enemy, which is the United States. And hey, I need your help. You need my help. Hey, why not? That's a problem. Also, it's a bigger problem too because China's starting to encourage other countries to move away from the U.S. dollar. Like India has already announced they're doing it. France has had talks. I don't know if they officially are doing it, but France is definitely
I believe
considering.
I believe the Saudis.
Yeah, the Saudis. The Saudis. A bunch of smaller countries are doing it as well. But again, India doing it, that's a huge problem because India, I mean, that's just a big country within itself.
Well over 1 billion people.
Right, exactly.
And China's almost at 2 billion.
Exactly. So making our dollar worth less and less worldwide is just going to cause problems, within our country, within itself. So I mean, and that only benefits Russia, China, and yeah, and it makes an enemy of the United States for anybody who stays, with the U.S. dollar, because it's like, hey, why aren't you guys, why haven't you guys done something about this, et cetera, et cetera. It turns out.
Well,
bad.
that said, I mean, are you for continued selling of arms to the people of Ukraine?
No, I haven't been.
I didn't think so, but I just wanted to ask about, knowing that, what do you think? So, this is another headline from Fox News, Russia and Ukraine's war. Zelensky says that European leaders, this is European, are ready to give military aircraft, which Putin said when Biden sent Abrams tanks to Ukraine, that's a red line.
Yeah.
Aircraft is another line. It's honestly about the same as tanks when you think about it, strictly speaking. I mean, tanks can't shoot nukes, planes can drop them. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But that said, does the situation go that way? I don't know. But I mean, that is another step of a European country saying they're ready to give Ukraine military aircraft. This whole thing is, I don't want to see a World War III.
Yeah.
This is how World War III takes shape.
We probably will see it.
This is why I want to keep covering it, because it feels like we could.
Yeah, and also, speaking of China and Russia, there's a good chance that China might invade Taiwan.
Big deal.
I've said before it probably wouldn't happen until later and stuff, but they've been running some practice tests about invasions of Taiwan. China has done that, and if these have been successful, I have no idea. But again, this is Russia type tactics. They ran this stuff like military exercises and stuff like that, and then look they're just exercises, and look what happens. Boom, invasion.
By the way, both under Democrat presidents, Crimea, and now
potentially
Ukraine with Biden.
Yeah.
And look, Georgia, to be fair, under Bush, not Georgia the state, Georgia the country.
Yeah.
Under Bush, none under Trump.
Yep.
Pay attention, people. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, no.
I just don't want to see a World War III.
No, I don't. I don't.
You
either.
and I are on the same page.
I don't want to see us involved in war.
I am rooting not for Zelensky. I'm rooting for the Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
Because they do not. And this is the thing. You kind of nailed it on the head. This is what I thought. I mean, this is not like some weird conspiracy theory. Putin used to be in the KGB.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a well-known, documented historical fact. And now he's meeting with Xi, and everybody ought to be thinking, okay, what's going on here? Another thing. Xi will not condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Will not do it. And now they're meeting at a summit together talking. Other thing, I'll cover this quickly, is China has come out with, I don't know if you've heard of this, a 12-point plan for peace in Ukraine. And they came out with this shortly after the summit between Xi and Putin. So I'm not going to read the details. I'm going to link it in the description. I'll just read the 12 points. Number 1, respecting the sovereignty of all countries, whatever that means. 2, abandoning the Cold War mentality. So basically, communists are not the bad guys. I think. 3, ceasing hostilities. Well, who's going to cease first? 4, resuming peace talks. Well, if we're talking about this, we kind of are. 5, resolving the humanitarian crisis, whatever that means. 6, protecting civilians and prisoners of war. Okay, how does that happen? 7, keeping nuclear power plants safe. Good. 8, reducing strategic risks.
What nuclear power plants? And who gets those power plants?
Well, it sounds like the country that has that one would protect it.
That would be a debate.
Reducing strategic risks, whatever that means. Well, that goes into nukes. Basically, don't use nukes. Facilitating grain exports, so basically continuing food moving around the world. Stopping unilateral sanctions, so no more sanctions. Which, who are the sanctions hurting? Russia. And a lot of times China, too. 11, keeping industrial and supply chains stable. 12, promoting post-conflict reconstruction. So basically, once the war ends, figuring out how to mitigate this and reconstruct. And y'all need to read this in detail and also read what people are saying about it to get more of a read on this. But it's like, my big thing is, why are we going to China with China? What's your solution to all this?
So
it's
China
like,
is...
since when?
So China is becoming the U.S.
Yeah, the big brother.
As far... Yeah, except for evil reasons.
What do you think we should do, big brother? That's like the attitude.
Exactly.
It's the attitude.
Like, hey, the U.S. can't help you anymore, so we're helping you now. And this is bad. And here's the thing. Question of the day for you. Actually, I got 2 questions of the day. I'll start with the easier one since we're kind of closing this. Unless you had something.
No.
Did you have anything else?
Last thing will be TikTok.
Oh, okay.
We'll go to that quickly though.
But go ahead and go to TikTok.
Can you remember your questions?
Yeah.
Hold that thought. Yep. Well, and really the question goes to you. So as y'all know, there's been a committee they met with the CEO. Again, it's been a while since we've sat down and done this of TikTok and put him on the stand, questioned him. The big thing that caught my attention, I think her name was like Kat Kimmick of Florida, a blonde lady, hardcore Trump supporter, very conservative from what I can tell, had the CEO of TikTok or the TikTok actually, because there's a mother company, but that CEO was not there, the CEO of TikTok, and said, look, here's the thing, here's a video on TikTok. It was removed after like 41 days of a threat against the chairwoman of this committee, the committee they were literally sitting on, of a gun and a text that read, me A as F. Like, they didn't actually say the word, but basically it was a threat against the committee chairwoman. Her point was, that was up for 41 days. How do you think you can protect the 130 million users of TikTok that are American when you can't even protect the people in this room?
Yeah.
And that was a very poignant question of like, you can't. They cannot protect people's data. They kept saying, oh, the Chinese government's not getting the data. Oh, we got it secure. Oh, all we do is look at your public profile. And then she points out, you can't even protect this woman like 2 rows behind me.
Yeah.
I mean, she's getting death threats, and 41 days later, you finally take it down. You can't even monitor that. So that said, this goes into an interesting question. You and I have had discussions about big tech. Does TikTok remain on the App Store, or does it get removed? Number 1, what do you think will happen? Number 2, what should happen? And we can go into this in more depth in another episode, but go ahead.
Yeah, we definitely need to go in depth with this on another episode, but I don't know if I'm for banning per se, just because that can go many ways. Mm-hmm. However, I'm a huge advocate for divesting of things, so we need to divest in TikTok, because we know that, for example, AOC is now for it.
Do not ban it in her mind.
Why? Because
all the protesters that I'm seeing holding up signs look like her ilk.
But they all have money in this stuff.
Yep.
And that is one of those things. I think if you ended up divesting and everything,
Well,
a lot of things would end up changing because you're just giving money to the CCP. At this point.
Well, that's exactly. And communist money goes around the globe.
Exactly.
What do we see with Putin, a former communist, definitely former KGB, meeting with a current Chinese Communist Party, and then you got these communists saying, "Oh, don't get rid of TikTok. It's actually a good thing." And look, there are patriots that have TikTok on their phones.
Yeah, 100%.
My big thing is be careful, please, for goodness sakes, be careful.
Yep.
And just know what you have. Look, you and I have apps on our phone that are owned by so-called American companies that are probably doing the same thing, if not worse.
100%.
But the difference is it's not going to the Chinese Communist Party.
Exactly.
And that's where people need to be conscious, need to be careful. This is why you should not put, John McAfee used to say, who was not a moral person by any stretch, but he was a technologist. He knew what he was talking about. He invented McAfee antivirus software. Yeah. He said, do not put on social media something about your personal life that you don't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
It's going to be seen by somebody. I mean, it may not be a government worker, maybe by someone on public. Who knows? A former employer. Who knows? So anyway, go ahead. We're going to close out an hour and 15 minutes. What were your last two questions? For me?
So question of the day for you. First question, easy question. Well, easy, I guess. But what comes out first, or what happens first? The manifesto of the shooter gets.
I thought you were going to say something disgusting.
The manifesto of the shooter.
I've been talking about political transformation so much, so come out. I was like, oh.
Yeah. No, the manifesto of the shooter. Hunter Biden gets arrested, or the Epstein files get released. So
wow.
Which one of those three
first? Oh, no. That's not an easy question. You said that was an easy one. What's the hard one? Which gets released for... Okay. Manifesto...
Yeah.
Hunter Biden gets arrested, or Epstein's I think never going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Hunter Biden getting arrested though, that's the thing.
That
will that ever happen?
It can't.
How could it happen? I don't know how it could.
Yeah.
I gotta say the manifesto would come out first somehow.
So? See, I don't think it ever comes out.
I don't think. But the problem is, do you think that Biden gets arrested before then? Or that the Epstein flight log gets leaked?
I don't think any of
none
it
of it happens.
That's the thing.
But if one of them did,
or here's the fourth choice: Lindsey Graham finally comes out. That potentially.
Okay,
happens.
that. Oh man, that.
There's your scapegoat.
He would still be in denial. Like, there would be a video of him screwing a man. He'd be like, "That was 10 years ago." And since then, I've realized I've got right with God. Like, he would have some song and dance where he's like, I no longer am that way. And then it'd be like, hey, man, last week you hit on me. And it'd be like, some dude would be like, hey, he'd be at some press conference, some random homeless dude, or someone that looks homeless. Hey, man, don't lie. I thought you were my boyfriend.
And see, I agree with you.
Cut off his mic.
I agree with you 100% though. Like,
of the three... The shooter's manifesto is super unlikely, but it would still happen before Biden gets arrested, Hunter Biden, or the flight log gets leaked.
The manifesto,
it would still be more likely.
The manifesto can't come out because it ruins everything. I guarantee you, there's talk about the Christian church and everything. There's an attack on probably Republicans or whatever, but mainly Christians. So it ruins the narrative. So that can't come out. The Epstein thing, never going to come out.
Yeah, never.
Hunter Biden getting arrested, probably never going to happen.
Yeah, so your two are, you're debating between the shooting manifesto and Biden, which is more likely?
I guess the manifesto.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's very, very unlikely. Yeah. Like snowball's chance.
It's not going to happen.
None of it is.
I'm mad. It's not going to happen.
None of it is. It all should, by the way. But none of it is.
But yeah,
so
none of it's going to happen.
Second question.
Yeah. So the second question is
let's hope it's easier.
Yeah. This actually might be a little easier. Talking about World War III, right?
Okay.
We get involved, and the draft happens, and you're forced.
I might be safe. I'm too tall.
Oh well, okay, but let's say you're not.
I'm too tall to be a pilot.
Yeah, well, too tall to be a pilot. So,
or a SEAL.
You can
or
still be
a
tank daughter.
That's human shield.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nathan's gonna hold me up.
Yeah, exactly. Could you fight this war with a clean heart? Like with World War I, World War II. You probably could have been in that war. On U.S. side, being like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, could you be drafted and be like, you know what, I'm still doing
Quite
the right
honestly,
thing?
I didn't even want to go here. The answer is no.
Yeah.
Right now, that probably will change. The thing is, right, like there's a weird wing of the QAnon circles. It's not even a far right. It's just a weird wing of the right wing movement. I wouldn't even call it far right because it's not. Far right's different than this. It's just a weird wing of the people that think that just weird stuff about, frankly, QAnon.
Yeah.
Look, I do not like George W. Bush as a president or as a current statesman, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a pedophile. And these QAnon people think he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's just no way.
Yeah.
They believe in all kinds of weird stuff. And they also believe that Putin's a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, I read certain things about Russian church attendance going up, about social conservatism on the rise in Russia, about other stuff, and I can understand why, if that is true, that's sounding appealing. The problem with this entire conflict, I said this in a recent episode of my podcast, is it's so hard to figure out what is true, what is crap.
Well,
because you've got the pro-NATO propaganda,
yeah.
Then you've got the pro-Russian propaganda. Like there was one thing that came out of a Ukrainian guy that the Russians killed. This is on Telegram, where Russia has, at least they can have a little bit of a say. And they were trying to say that the Ukrainian guy that they killed was a rapist, was a pedophile, was a domestic abuser. And it's like, look, on the one hand, here's the issue. Russia could kill someone like that, but it's Russia saying it. So it's like, do we even know if it's true? Because, of course, they're going to, like, if it wasn't someone like that, they could lie and say it was. Like, this guy could be an upstanding man like you, and they're going to be, like, ticking your face and saying, this is who we killed, horrible person, degenerate, whatever, and look at the amazing Russians that killed him. It's so hard to figure out who's who. So, all in all, I don't know. Yeah. My thing is, my gut, though, tells me, look, even though here's the other thing. The history between Ukraine and Russia is so complicated. Yeah. It really is. Like, literally, Rus, the capital of Russia for the long time, was in Ukraine. Yeah. That's where we get the term Russian. This is a Viking tribe that was called the Rus.
100%.
It was in Ukraine. So, was Ukraine part of Russia? Abso-freaking-lutely. But then it goes to, okay, but this country that we're sitting in, this part of South Carolina, was owned by the Cherokees at one point.
Yeah, exactly.
In other words, stuff changed.
But are we Cherokee? No.
In other words, or are we owned by them? No.
No.
Does the Cherokee have a claim over us? No.
No.
So then it goes like, so at some point, history changes.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, and it just gets complicated. It's like, what do you go with? And in my gut goes with, number one, do the Ukrainian people, the average, Vlad and Ivan in Ukraine, deserve to be ruled by a former KGB agent? My gut tells me no. Yeah. My gut also tells me their land was invaded. Yeah. They didn't invade Russia. Yeah. Russia invaded Ukraine. Yeah. Whether they're taking back what's theirs or not, Russia invaded Ukraine. So my gut tells me, when I see that, it's like, no matter what, it's hard because, yeah, Zelensky's got ties to the Biden families, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Democrat Party. It just gets super complicated because anyone fighting in this war, unfortunately, it's fighting for Biden and Zelensky is the issue. Yeah. So the answer is no. I'm trying to actually do some research. This is one reason I want to keep covering this on my podcast, but also this podcast, because, like you said, we could be seeing a formation of World War III, or if not World War III, a reformation of who's the strongest country in the world, like superpowers. But also just watching history unfolding in a very interesting way. No matter what happens, we're watching history unfold. I mean, yeah, the U.S. going into Afghanistan was a big deal. This is still a big deal. Yeah. Like that's one thing the media got right, is this is a big deal.
Afghanistan didn't shape the world, in my opinion.
It did in the U.S. because they cracked down on our freedoms.
But that's not the world.
But not in the U.S. exactly.
This shapes the world.
And so that's the thing. And again, the issue is a lot of the communist money goes in the same circles. And see, the problem is the communists are in bed with NATO too. And NATO is all for Ukraine, but they're against Russia. And Russia's got communist money, obviously, still. I mean, when you look, I was reading, I want to do a lot of reading about Russia's so-called decommunization, because a lot of it was, we're all for democracy. They kind of went to being a pseudo-direct democracy, and that's not good either.
So is America.
Well, that's not good either. Right. That's not good either. And so, since it's not good either, I want to do some reading on Russian history. I actually have some books sitting over there about Russian history I want to read. So the answer, sorry for the long rambling answer, but I got to give you the why, is no, I don't know who I would join up with. This is why America, to me, give Ukraine no money, send them no soldiers. This has got to be what it's got to be. That's just how it is. But to turn the question back around on you, since I did with the other question too, what would your answer be? Is it pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, no, I couldn't be in this war with a rightful heart. The only way I'd be in this war is because I'm
if you were Ukrainian, yeah.
Oh no, just like in the U.S. Like I'm talking World War. Like
I see. I see.
Even if the U.S. got into it, like
like if China hits America or
if we
Russia,
get attacked, that's a little different. But here's the thing. Even still, I'm not gonna have a full like we're doing the right thing type thing, because this is one of the cases of the winner. These are bad guys going at bad guys. America, with what they're doing with Ukraine, and everything is corrupt. Ukraine's corrupt. And we know Russia and China are just straight up bad guys.
Yeah, and it's hard.
In general.
It's hard.
So which bad do you want to take to win this war and essentially shape the world for the next 30, 40 years?
It's hard because when I think of the average, again, like the average Sergey or Sergey, whatever.
Yeah.
And Vlad in Ukraine, and Biden does not speak for you and I, right?
Oh, 100%.
There's people in there that Zelensky does not speak for them.
Yeah.
And I feel for those people. I really do. Yeah. Because, I can frankly sympathize with them because, like I just said, it's just a tough one, man. It's really hard. And again, I don't want those people being taken over by a former KGB agent and someone that, someone who's big advisor, and you and I have talked a little bit, just very quickly, about Dugin, Alexander Dugin. It literally led an organization that was the National Bolshevik Club. Yeah. Like Bolshevik, that is the communist club, right? Nationalist, but Bolshevik. You got this guy, and it's like, how when you look at that, you're like, how can that be the good people in the world? And at the same time, look, Zelensky's bad. There's human trafficking in Ukraine. There's weapons labs in Ukraine. Big issues with the Democrat Party. I cannot emphasize that enough. But again, that's the Ukrainian government. The Ukrainian people, I don't want them to be ruled by that. That's my thing. So anyway, that's basically my answer, and we really need to wrap it there.
You love my questions of the days, don't you?
They're good. You need to come up with more. We need to do one. And then look, we could go on. We went over another half hour pretty much because of those two, because I had such long answers, and they were good questions too. Yeah. The second one was I had a long answer, but it was easier to answer than the first one. Come up with more, and we're going to get some boards as well to kind of illustrate times we actually agree with Democrats, which hardly ever happens, but it does. Kind of because they, once in a while, hey, broken clock right being twice a day kind of thing. So, Celtics fan 33 on Instagram, The Fog Whirlwind, I think, is mine on Instagram. It'll be in the description of the video. Regardless, we're going to have sources in the description of this video and in the comment section. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Everyone, have a great evening.